Oh yeah, and I've been told like 100 times we need to improve our mics, dude.
Our mics, I know. And you just did that on the live recording, Matthew.
I know.
Welcome to another episode of Drink What You Think. I'm Matthew, that guy down there. I'm not Matthew. See if I could fool you. He's Matthew. I'm Kenji, and Michael Lee is here.
This is
Mr.
Michael.
Lee.
You're in my bedroom, so it's a very intimate time right now. I feel very vulnerable.
So we're in a construction zone in my house, so we'll see if the construction holds off for a little bit. So.
Oh man, this one's good, ladies and gentlemen. Though this is the epic accountants and firms. This is gonna be a crazy podcast.
Yeah.
Some weird stuff's going on here. Before we get into that, we're gonna need to crack open what we're drinking.
Yeah.
I know, Mr. Lee, up in Vermont.
It's always cider.
You're rocking out the cider, man. What you got?
So I'm drinking the Dirty Mayor today.
The Dirty Mayor.
Dirty Mayor. Yeah.
What is the Dirty Mayor?
It's a ginger infused cider.
Is your mayor a ginger?
No, he is not. But this cider is definitely cider for the people. That's what it says on the top, cider for the people. So it's also socialist cider.
Socialist cider
for the people.
I'm gonna tell Bernie you said that. I'm gonna hashtag Bernie on this one. So the Dirty Mayor. Okay, I'll tee up the Dirty Mayor when we get ready to vote on it later. Matthew, I know you and I are both drinking the same thing here.
Overnight celebrity.
Which is
what's up with that? Wow.
Maple Bourbon Barrel Imperial Porter.
Oh
so this is the Monday night brew. This is the second Monday night brew in a row. So
another Monday. This is an Atlanta brewery, a big boy. Did you look at the percentage on this, Matthew?
No.
11.5.
Okay.
What is going on?
And it's a big guy.
Yeah,
so
this is going to be a problem. This is the kind of stuff.
Don't make an acquisition decision after a drink of that.
We probably did too many. Okay.
Well, and Kenji drinks them wrong. You and I drink them right. We drink them out of the bottles and the cans. So
this is how you do it.
You look like you have a root beer.
Root beer. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
How's your Muggs root beer?
Ooh, strong.
It's strong.
Okay. November 1st, a very strange thing happened.
What happened? What happened, Kenji?
Both.
Did you turn 55? What happened?
Yes, and my son Michael turned 21.
Yes. Kenji, I jokingly refer to Kenji as my stepfather. That's what I tell him now. I tell everybody he's my dad. And people kind of stop and pause. Like,
yeah.
Maybe
accountants are so serious, they just don't even know what joking is. I was telling him, like, hey, calm down, son, take your Ritalin and things like this. And people were like, what are you doing? So, but on November 1st, there were no birthdays in this group, but crazy thing happened. Our firms, Reconciled and Acuity, both announced our first acquisitions literally on the same day. I mean, that was crazy.
That was funny.
Insane.
And you're just trying to steal our thunder, dude.
Oh, no.
For a long time, and then you just you see our press release and you put something together. I'm pretty impressed how fast you put that press
Matthew,
release.
That assumes there is thunder to steal, right?
It was my thunder in my head.
Maybe if thunder is defined as plugging something into the wall, then yes.
Yeah. It's that was pretty wild though to see that. Like I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this happened on the same day. We were freaking out about it.
I think we both knew we were like
thinking
about it, talking about looking. We were looking. We were both, having conversations. But you know how it goes. You can't talk about it that closely with a lot of people besides the ones involved. And then we're both like, okay. And we both announced the stuff. Yeah.
Next thing you know, same day, which is cool. So listen, unplanned people, everybody else in the accounting community, this was an unplanned. I mean, just next year, circle up November 1. Apparently that's a great date to do accounting firm acquisitions and mergers. So I guess the question I'll ask, I'm going to kind of play a little bit. I'm going to put Matthew, you're going to be in the seat for Acuity. I'll maybe chime in, but I'll mostly get going. Okay. What's the motivation, your personal motivation for acquiring a firm? Who wants it first, Matthew or Michael?
I'm happy to go.
Guess first.
Shorter man first. So for us, I began thinking about this at the end of last year. early this year before the pandemic. And, you guys have been in the business for a while as well, much longer than I have. And one thing you realize is that what we've each built in our firms is unique. And most firms, I think I read a report that the average accounting firm in the US isn't more than $250,000 a year. It's like the average, right? So even if you include all the big top 100, when you average it all out and divide by, okay, what's the size in revenue? It's like $250,000. So it's not a lot. It's not big. It's not massive. It's about one CPA, maybe a staff member, maybe 2 part-time people, something like that. Yeah. So what we both build is unique. And for people who want to build something like we have, it takes a lot of time, investment, money. And the real challenge is this management layer. Yeah. It's like this elusive layer where you no longer as an accounting professional are doing the work, you're working on the business now, instead of working in the business. So I went into 2020 saying, we built something really special at Reconciled. We have a clear vision we want to get to. We have a great culture. Most accountants, it's very challenging for them to build this, and they're not made to build this. They're accountants. But they know to compete in the 21st century, they need to build this. They know that their own employees want this. They know their customers want this. So why don't we go and invite firms? Why don't we go invite firm owners? There's thousands of them, if not tens of thousands of them out there in the country, right? There's lots.
There's 100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you, each of us could go acquire 10, 20 more each next year, and it wouldn't matter. It's a blip. It means nothing to the accounting industry. Yeah. And, but it means a lot to the firm owners and to the employees and to their customers, that we can fast track them to a culture and to opportunities. And so I think about it, the formal term is acquisition. I think about it as an invitation. You're inviting people because you can't force them. Yeah. We know this. It's people. It's not bots. It's not software. It's people. I can't force these customers and employees and sellers to want to come join us. I can only make a compelling invitation, right? So that's the way I looked at it. And so that's why I wanted to do it, was how can we get to our vision that we have for Reconciled faster? And how can we get there with knowing that there's people who want to be part of our journey, instead of just the accretive, let's just go hire more people. And we know hiring talent continues to be the top challenge in our industry, even post-COVID or during COVID. Finding great people who already understand what we're about and what we want to do. So I began that process early on in the year and put together, when I was in Arizona during COVID, put together basically a template, a thesis of what does it look like to invite people to do this. And then we went out this summer. We started this summer doing that, and finished our first one in November. So
November 1st.
November 1st. Yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah. And we plan to continue doing more. I'm sure you guys are probably in the same boat, but we plan to continue doing more.
I mean, on our side,
Matthew, what would you say? I mean, so the question, what was your motivation, Matt? What's your Acuity's motivation for?
Well, part of it was a realization, right? So, I mean, we went through a process. Our private equity firm came and said, hey, we want you to, and they told us about this model. They wanted us to acquire, 5 to 10 firms a year, get it up to a certain level. And we did a lot of thinking about infrastructure, because we basically, if you think about the context, we've added at a minimum of 10 people a year, net each year since I joined Acuity. So we were, 9 or 10 people when I started. We're 100 people, 7 years later. So we average adding basically 2 firms a year.
Yeah.
Average firm is 5 people, right?
Yeah.
We average adding 5 people a year. So culturally, we have a structure already built. But really, when the private equity guys talked to us and we went through that process, we were able to get a lot of insight on the industry and all these numbers that you're talking about, Michael. We have we've actually seen some of the studies that they did, that there are about 100,000 firms in the U.S. doing cloud accounting services. They average, less than 10 people, as a staff, and the question to us was, well, Kenji's been doing this a long time. I've been doing this 7 years. We know how to grow organically. Inorganic growth is interesting as well. Mm-hmm. Like from a business owner challenge, So we went through this process of getting our firm ready to do these. It took about 2 years of infrastructure building. And then in February of this year, pre-COVID, we launched a web page on our site called Merge with Acuity. It's right under the careers page.
Yeah.
So literally, we had last year tried to acquire a firm, and we thought about going to business brokers and stuff like that. And we just had terrible experience with the business brokers out there. There's our experience. I know other people have been successful. Our experience was really poor. So we opened, the Merge with Acuity thing, just like on the careers page. It's literally a page on our website. You go to the About section and go to Merge with Us, and you fill out a form, and it starts a conversation where we've had 7 of these conversations. 1 we've seen to completion. 5, we've agreed not to go forward, and 2 are in progress. So you're like, or 4, I guess we've passed on, and then 2 are in progress. So
yeah, and you ignored mine. So there you go. Like I filled that out, and you ignored that one.
You did not fill it out.
You put a bunch of fake names in there though and stuff.
So our cutoff to talk to you though, because people joke, oh, we should join you all the time. You do have to fill out the form.
We should change it to Michael's point. It shouldn't be a form. No, you're filling out an invitation.
Yes. RSVP.
It's a Calendly, man. It's whatever you want it to be. It is an invitation.
Yes, it is an invitation. That's true.
But that's kind of what it started with. Kind of 2017 when we went through the private equity thing and decided not to take outside money, and took 2 years to get the infrastructure right, and then 2019 we just kind of bailed doing the business broker thing, so we thought we'd do it ourselves, and now we have a decent amount of inbound on it, and we've talked to even the 4 firms that we've agreed not to go forward with, like one or a couple we still talk to frequently, have had on this show. A couple, it was great just getting to know them. It was like very mutually, I think everybody would say it's a great experience. It's just worth conversations. So there
was one that was maybe not. But...
One? Oh, we don't talk about Michael. We told
Well, and I thought it was really interesting. We both announced the firms we acquired that you ended up acquiring a firm in my neck of the woods, and I ended up acquiring a firm in your neck of the woods. And I'm going, why didn't we just trade places? It would have made our lives so.
It was crazy. It was like, yeah. That actually was something that threw the brokers off when we were talking to them. They're like, hey, we queued up a whole bunch of good firms in Atlanta. I'm like, we don't care about Atlanta. So there were some other issues there, but that was one of the ones there. Yeah. I guess Matthew, and I'll go back to you and then we'll put to Michael on the same question, but you were kind of talking about, and I'm thinking for other firm owners who are kind of thinking through this, you talked a little bit about the process in broad terms of like, oh, here's how we did it. We did it without a broker. You kind of gave some of the numbers that we've talking to. We're using kind of the web pages inbound. Like beyond that, like, okay, talk about the deal. Like what should somebody expect from like, oh, once you maybe find a prospect, like, or someone like, how do you start? Like, what's the steps of for our deal, what did it look like and how much time did it take? And I'm curious how it worked on Michael's side, just to give people a perspective.
Yeah. So we've kind of worked out a process based on kind of how Kenji and Lisa and I all work together. So I kind of have the spiel down now, we kind of worked it out because we had some fits and starts when we were kind of talking to other firms. So, our process is you come in and you talk to me because I can get the deal in my head, and I can do a first cut, and I like talking to people anyway. Then we put it to the owners. We kind of give them the outline of kind of what we do. We talk to them about our process. And our process is at Acuity, to get acquired by Acuity or merge into Acuity, you have to get 3 people to say yes. You have to get me, Kenji, and Lisa to all agree that it's a good thing, right? Then if you get those, then we do the deal. The way the process works, I tell them the first thing is me. We give them all the information they want. We probably tell people stuff that they can't believe we tell them on a first call without an NDA or whatever, but like, we're just like that. We're dorks. If they, after they talk to me, if I haven't scared the crap out of them or they think that we're not idiots, they have a takeaway, like they have a to-do, and they then have to tell us if they want to talk to Kenji. Kenji to me kind of is our culture guard. kind of definitely it has going to have to be because I can structure a business deal around any firm probably. It would drive Kenji crazy. I would be like, I can make it work. Like, it's just math when you do acquisitions, unfortunately. Like, and I'm really like detached. I can detach myself from it. But Kenji,
I can make a marriage work with anybody. It's
You're right.
Well, Kenji's our culture guard. So the second step is to talk to Kenji. If you make it past Kenji, then and we have mutually agreed to move forward. Then we move to we can sign an NDA whenever you want. We don't care. Mm-hmm. But if you haven't signed an NDA by there, we'll give you an NDA, and then we'll send you a due diligence list. Mm-hmm. And after you give us the first pass of diligence, then you get to meet with Lisa, Kenji, me, and we start running our process. We run our process. And then the next thing that comes after our process is an LOI. And the best way the LOI was described to us, which was just a letter of intent, is our lawyer, who's a good friend of both of ours, actually gave us, when we were going through this, he said there's two types of people in his mind for LOIs. There are people who throw LOIs over the fence and close them 25% of the time, or there are people that don't sign an LOI until they're 90% sure, right? So we decided, just philosophically, we're going to be the 90% people. So we'll do a deal, like we tell people, we get it to 90% certainty, sign an LOI, get all the deals thing, and then you move to a period of 30 to 90 days, whatever you negotiate, of exclusivity to do the deep dive due diligence to make sure that everything and start transition planning. And then you do the deal. So on this one, it was a little longer than I would have preferred. Like we probably did because of the PPP loans and some of the uncertainty there. Like we thought maybe we could get forgiveness, like he could get forgiveness before we could do the deal, and then that was just silly. So we kind of extended the deal. We probably should have closed ours kind of September 15th. So it was about 45 days too long on the first one. So we'll probably shorten that period, 60 days max for that final deep dive. But it was our first one, so I don't regret it being 120 days or something like that this time.
So I'm curious, Michael, how dissimilar was your process when you found the firm?
Yeah, so we probably have some similarities and some differences. One is I don't have as big of a team, right? I'm basically the primary owner and executor. I do have a leadership team that works with me, and they get involved post LOI. So and because I don't have a team, I have limited time on my hands. Time is money. I have a buying broker involved. So I have a buying broker that represents us. He basically he gets engaged and he goes out to the firms across the country on his short list that match our profile, and we're looking for a profile roughly anywhere from $500,000 to upwards of $2 million in revenue, recurring revenue. And for us, the profile has to be predominantly CAS work, and a minority of it being in tax work if they have a tax practice. And so usually it's me and the broker having that conversation, and because of the limited time and manpower that our broker does a lot of I would say a lot of the work that Matthew's doing. So that broker is playing Matthew role, and then I'm playing Kenji role.
Yep. And
then my team is playing kind of Lisa role, right? So it's like that would be it. I would be like, and so so it was really it's been a really interesting process, and a really fun process, and we were really lucky, I think, with this first one, because you hope for this all the time, but I don't expect it. Is that me and the seller, we get along really great. Like, he's a really great guy. Like, and I think you guys had the firm owner on last week or
a few weeks ago.
So like we get along really great, and I'm just like, wow, like this is really cool. And for us, we don't expect or assume the seller wants to be involved after the sale. So we actually are not we are not expecting the seller to stay on board. But if a seller wants to and has a unique sales role or client delivery role they want to serve, that's awesome, So we do structure it a little differently in that way, in that we don't have this expectation. If the seller feels like, because of the criteria we have, if we feel like and the seller feels like them being involved is advantageous to us, great. If not, then we don't have that requirement all the time. But it was, for us, it was really easy because I just got along with the seller. I related to him. I thought he was a great guy. He's a great guy, and I could see myself just being friends with him. Right.
Right.
And that was ultimately, if you want to get in, you want to get married, get in bed with somebody that, then, if I was selling Reconciled, you guys were selling Acuity, you want to get in bed with somebody, you want to know, are they going to take care of this thing? Right. And are they going to take care of your people? Are they going to take care of your customers? So I was very thoughtful about that, of how I approached that and what my plans were. But, we're smaller than you guys. So yeah.
That's hugely, in fact, you hit on my next question, because I was like, we've talked a lot about this, and it's funny, you answered it almost in the same way that we did. It's like, what made us all pull the trigger on this first one, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of, at least I did. Matthew doesn't, because it's all math to Matthew. I just spent a lot of time like, man, we got to get this first one. How are you going to do it? We're going to make mistakes and things. And I think very much like you, which is probably why we're playing the same roles. And it's probably why, we're related in some weird stepchild relationship. I had to like this person. Like I felt very much that I had to see them like, oh, this is someone I'd want to spend time with. I'd want to be involved with in our business. And I mean, I think that's probably the way it should always be. But this first one to me felt very much like, okay, we're probably going to screw some things up. We're just our first time. We don't exactly know what we're doing. We don't have the advantage of having a broker guide us through some of this, even though we kind of reached out. That's initially what I wanted to do, because I was like, I would like some guidance. But we're like, okay, we're not doing that. So we're kind of going by the seat of our pants. I'm like, you better have somebody here that we have a lot of trust in each other and care for each other, because it's probably going to get a little bit weird and funky at times. So that's how I know. To me, I'm like, that's, unless, I think Matthew's in the same boat on this, where I think we were kind of like, man, this is the person, like we really liked the person. And we felt like we had a good relationship with him, and hopefully that came across in our drink while you think from a little while ago. We're going to find a way optimistic to make it work. We don't see the full path exactly about how this is going to combine, but it sounds like that was real similar for you too. Like, okay, I can,
and you have to, you don't know until you do it, and you're gonna make mistakes, right? So and on some level, there's like, what should we be spending 80% of our time focusing on? And what's the 20% that influences 80% of this deal?
Yeah.
And what's the like the details that represent only 20% of the deal? And you want to make sure that you're aligned on that. So what's important? Like, culture is important. You want to make sure that there's a clear, communication expectation that, hey, eventually, like your firm, you have this name, but it's going to become Acuity. Like it's going to be one team, one company, same customers. Right. Eventually it's going to be all that. And there's a transition time and stuff like that. And then what is the expectation for the seller? Like, what's their role? What's their involvement? And for the team. And so I think aligning on all that. And it's funny how I would say, obviously becoming to alignment on financials of the deal are important.
Yeah.
But we honestly, what was more important was, okay, what's our plan for the team and what's our plan for the customers?
Yeah.
That was actually more important for a lot of people, and
we just did. I mean, we've been rolling out in phases to our team at Acuity through senior leadership, our management team, and then we're getting ready for the rest of the staff of our integration plan. And it's the two premises that we tried to solve for in the integration plan are the team coming over and the clients coming over. Because you kind of get locked into, what about these systems and all these different things?
Right.
Okay, can we keep at top of mind those two constituents of how are we treating their team, how are we treating their clients? And so it fits into like the next one I had. And Matthew, I'll go. I mean, you haven't been very involved in the integration, but I think most people who've done deals before know that like the deal side's kind of the fun side. It's kind of like, you're not really married yet. all of a sudden you get married and you're like, okay, now we're in
The
it.
dirty work.
We're trying to like integrate. So we're both
Yeah.
of our firms are like basically a little over a month into it. So we're integrating. I guess that's my question. I'll start with Matthew first. Like, what's that period of integration been like? What's, that is technically the harder, more challenging side where you're trying to marry these things up. What's the first 30 days been like?
Well, I think people are a little surprised that there's not a whole lot of change in their day to day.
Right.
That was surprising for people. I don't know why. The second thing, there's just stuff you don't expect, right? Like our engagement letter is not really set up to bill weekly versus monthly, and they like to sell weekly, right? So I've got to go rejigger that, and like we have another person besides me and Kenji that can sell stuff from a relationship perspective that's outside of the sales work. Like everything else funnels through sales, right? So we're creating a new process there. And then on the ops side, we kind of kicked the can till April on kind of full integration. So, I mean, I know we're feeling some of the pain on some of the systems, but like the biggest pain I think is probably for us is like having a server now.
What is that, sir? I totally agree, dude. Like, what is server?
We're fumbling around with that, and like, how do you scale, transition these clients to where they're off the server versions and on pure cloud systems and stuff like that. So there's like stuff like that you're just not familiar with and expecting, right? So, but I think I don't know that it'll be painful in April either. I think we have a very gradual kind of implementation plan. I think it's going to be easier on people. But the hardest thing right now, I guess, is the stuff we don't know, the server, like the cloud hosting server and those contracts and what to do with that and having
someone moving all like the, just things like they were really good about, like Matthew mentioned, weekly, they basically bill people, ACH them weekly.
Wow.
Crazy, right? Super.
That's amazing.
Super, interesting, but like getting all that switched over to where it's coming to us, not the old firm, and not having to kind of redo it. Just lots of those little things that you just have to kind of think through, which is fascinating. But I'm curious about your first 30-day experience of integration, Michael.
I think it all surrounds expectations. So, every accounting firm, no matter if it's a cloud one, traditional, they're all busy. Everyone's busy. No one is paying just for extra bench just to sit around and do nothing, right? Like everyone's full. So I think in a acquisition standpoint, I think there's this thought maybe from the selling side sometimes that a bigger firm can come in and they're just going to have all these resources. And the reality is everyone's still full, right? And so who is gonna, you want to have the integration plan, you want to put it all together, but at the end of the day, it's going to take time. You can't go faster than time allows and then manpower allows. And then you also, so it helped us learn, okay, well, we might need to hire people just to have as bench or just as a resource to both sides, because you're also still selling Acuity. We're still selling Reconciled, like bringing in customers, right? Which has been an amazing year alone on that.
Yeah.
And you're still hiring people on that side. So you don't want all of your people to completely get distracted and stop serving customers the way they're supposed to be serving and stop doing the thing that made the business what it is today, right? So that's the other side is you can't make the integration, even though it's important, you can't make it the only thing. Pause everything, 30, 45 days, integrate. It's impossible. You can't do it, So you're asking people to figure out how to do this. At the same time, they got to keep doing their regular job, which was already full to the max. It was already filled up. And it's not like you said, hey, okay, once everybody gets to 80% or 70%, you have 30% left. We'll do an acquisition then. Like, no, we all jumped in saying we're all full and we got way more work and we're going to do this now. And then on the selling side, those employees at the same time, they come in full, and so I think everybody realizes, wow, this is just the industry. can you find a better rhythm around there or more automation or something? Maybe. I just think that the expectation that one side or the other is going to have all of a sudden this magical capacity that's open,
Yeah.
I think is unrealistic too.
It is. I mean, you're right. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been a target in the to even bring on. So you're not
right.
You're in fact, if you bring a firm on and you massively increase your capacity, you've probably got a problem on like, wait a minute, we thought we were bringing over a lot more client revenue. So what's kind of going on here? So it's interesting. It's definitely going to be, this will be good to go back and kind of look at this. And I think that leads into kind of what you already said this earlier, but like, you're going to do more of these, right? Our hypothesis that we will do more of these. That was one of my questions, but like, we've kind of, it's easy for the three of us, I guess, as owners. I guess we can kind of do what we want. Like, hey, we're going to do more and more and more of this. But as Matthew and I've talked about, we got to talk back to our organization a little bit and go, okay, well, let's get through an integration process. How was it? Like, how was this painful? Like, incredibly painful? Was it like, did we learn? I mean, as long as we learn something, I think we're very likely to keep pressing forward. I know, abstract of all that, Matthew and I would just keep pressing forward, like, yeah, more and more and more of these. But there's that, like, are you going to kill the people? Like, because they have, to your point, like, they have these day jobs they're already doing.
Right.
So being mindful of our team. So I guess we'll see. We'll keep adding these, and maybe we should just share a calendar from now on so we can kind of, hey, my next one's going to be on this date. Can we line it up so that we just kind of keep,
well, and I think
April 1st, dude.
April 1st.
Yeah, let's do it. April 1st.
After tax season.
Oh, okay, May 1st. Come on, Michael. Come on with me, man.
Now he's starting.
May 1st. Come on, dude. You can do it. Come on, May 1st.
Oh, I think you'll be surprised at how much more aggressive we are.
There's only one.
You're gonna be like December 1st, January 1st.
He will be. Yeah,
I believe you.
Yeah. I think the hard part is you have to ask the question, what's in it for the rest of the company?
Yeah.
So it can't be what's in it for Michael, what's in it for Kenji or Matt. Yeah, I guess it can be, but it's not the kind of firms we run, right? What's in it for the whole company? Why is it better for our firms to do it? And that's the thing that you have to continue to articulate, because the answer is not, well, we're getting more capacity from that's a lie. I mean, we're not getting more capacity from the ag. Yeah. So it's got to be bigger than that. It's got to be related to what your vision and mission is. It's got to be related to what you're trying to do. Why do you think it's going to make you stronger and better as a company? And why is and how does it, what does it contribute to the team members that are involved with the whole process? I think that's articulating. That's really, really important. Otherwise, you're right, Kenji. It's like you're just kind of doing it where you're doing it as owners for vanity. I don't know. I can
tell everybody else has done it. Yeah,
we've talked about it. Like 10 million. When we get to 10 million, we get to hire a VP of marketing, right? Like it's all infrastructure, right? It's like the more and more you do, the more you can do. Like doing this acquisition allowed us to hire a director of client success and a new director of accounting, like 2 huge support people for the whole organization, right? That we wouldn't have hired otherwise, right? So we hired them a little ahead, of the acquisition to be able to do the acquisitions, right? So those kind of hires, and those, hopefully people do see that they're getting more and more support as we get a little bit bigger. That's beyond just, what Kenji and I or Lisa can do,
Yeah.
I think that's the point about leveling up the infrastructure. And you talked about this from the very get-go, Michael, is that I think that's the hardest part about all of this for any firm, is that you just don't see many firms doing it. And I know when I started Acuity way back in the day, it was just kind of just me, and we had nobody and no admin overhead. I was in a ton of the work, and the cash flow was great into my own pocket, right? It was like, this is awesome. And I get that. Like, it's how a lot of firms, when they're the size that firms are in our market, like the founders taking home a lot of that own cash comp, but they're doing all the work, or a predominant amount of it. You have to start thinking about putting in that level of infrastructure. And I think that it's kind of interesting to talk about academically, like on a podcast or on a video guys here, but like it's, be ready for your margins to get hit. Be ready for people like you maybe to second guess your own profitability, because people are like, man, I hear these other guys are killing it out there, like and making all this money and on the bottom line. And well, that's because again, you're not putting in those layers of infrastructure that allow you then to grow. And so that's my biggest takeaway to people is like if you want to go and scale and get beyond, the three of us right now really don't do any client work anymore. Like, right. That's a weird thing for accountants. It's a really strange thing. And it's not, we're not saying it's the right thing for everybody. It's different. For us three, that's the right thing. But for other people, they may be like, no, I want to be in doing it. But if you want to get to that point, you're going to have to say, I'm going to take some margin hit. I'm going to put some infrastructure in place, and I'm going to probably need to grow it to a point to where I can afford to keep layering in more infrastructure. Right. So it's an interesting, it's just not probably the norm, because otherwise accountants usually go toward, what's my cash flow look like? How much can I take home myself? And you got to run, I think, firms and practices like ours with more compressed margins so you can build the infrastructure to keep growing. And that's not, Well,
we're not running lifestyle firms, right? Maximizing profitability. You want to have some level of profitability, but maximizing it means that, hey, revenue growth isn't really that important. Right. It's just maximize probability. So you're right. That's why most firms, and that's why the accounting industry in general is one of the most profitable, or if not the most profitable industry in the US, is because of the ability to do that. But if you want to grow it and scale it and see long-term gain, and also build something big, build a big culture and go after a big vision. Yeah, you're right. It means investing in infrastructure that is expensive. Right. Getting team members that are expensive, because talent's expensive in the accounting and finance world. And so it's got to come from somewhere.
You either have to keep growing. It's got to come out of what you're willing to take home. It's got to come from more acquisitions. It's an interesting piece, but I have one last question.
Yeah.
Before we rate our beers, we built up to this whole thing. Here we have, okay, now since we're talking acquisitions, Michael, will you acquire us right here on come on, Michael,
on the show?
Come on, just say
on YouTube, the first YouTube acquisition
ever. Matthew will issue an LOI probably right here. He'll figure out the math right here. I mean, it'll
get the math worked out right now.
Oh, geez. I didn't even tell him. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think I'd love to see that LOI come through. That's awesome.
We could have a lot of fun. I think we the problem is the three of us getting together. We might blow the whole thing up.
It might not turn out well.
That may be too much entrepreneurial accountants in the room. Like, it just might kill the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, as we get ready to rate our beers, I'm going to pull up our screen for the Dirty Mayor here. Let me screen.
How does this work again? How do we rate? What do we do here?
1 to 5 in quarter point increments. Here's the Dirty Mayor. Already have pulled up.
There you go.
So on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you give the Citizen Cider Dirty Mayor?
Yeah, I give it a 3.75.
3.75.
Yeah.
Ba-boom.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it. Okay.
Untapped.
Matthew, Untapped. Check out some Untapped.
I'm gonna go 3.75 on this one.
So you went down from our last one.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I am generally not a bourbon barrel aficionado for beers. I think it's overdone. But
so we're gonna do 2 of these. You're gonna rate 3. I'm gonna go up in mine because actually I think I went 4 last time. I'm going to go 4.25 on this, which is strong for me. But it wasn't as sweet. Duplicate check-in? What is this? What is this? Okay, let's try it one more time. Wow.
Wait 1 minute to do it again.
Oh, because you can't do the same one twice.
Yeah, thinks that you're
probably not letting people sit here.
Just go to incognito and do it again.
Hurry, someone else go in there. While I'm waiting to do that again, I'll go back and hit 4.25. I liked it. It wasn't as sweet, I thought, as the one we had last time when your dad was on, Matthew. So the one before this episode was Matthew's dad was on here, which was hilarious, Michael, because you got to see there's like a flash forward like 25 years in the future of Matthew, what he's going to look like with a mustache, first of all, but also much more handsome and way cooler. Like very cool. Like if Matthew got cooler and grew a mustache, this is what he would be in 25 years.
There you go.
But my man, you are our big, huge speaker at AcuityCon. You're, I think, one of the only other people have been on here twice on Drink While You Think.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you guys.
Love you to death. And I love my son. But actually really, really pumped and excited about what you guys are doing. I think maybe last thing I guess we'll all maybe each you guys, what do you think, like, do you expect more acquisitions, not just from us in the accounting industry? Like we'll close on this, but what do you think? Should we be expecting more and more acquisitions?
Oh yeah, the amount of firms for sale and keep coming off for sale are pretty dramatic. If you look at any of the websites and brokers, I mean, it's dramatic how many. And then we did the same thing. We took a cue from you and put up a merge with Reconciled page, and we started getting inquiries. We were later to the game on that, but it's amazing. It is amazing. It starts conversations. So. Awesome. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more consolidation, and I wouldn't be surprised if we both obviously continue in it, but also we start seeing some of our frenemies do the same thing.
That's my hope too.
Yeah,
I hope other modern firms. To me, that's something that's important in the industry modernizes, like our profession modernizes, and I think that's a great way to do it. Is we see more of our friends, frenemies, however you want to describe them, start acquiring other firms, and that will bring a natural modernization to our profession. But yeah, I agree. Matthew, your thoughts?
I think we're seeing it across the board. I think, anytime you have a pandemic like this, like it just emphasizes how shitty it is to be a business owner. So I think like that emphasizes to a lot of people that the other thing that's kind of crazy, in our case, the firm owner is retiring. So if you look at the AICPA right now, they said 70% of their AICPA members, one of the reports says, are eligible for retirement this year. Wow. 70%. So, and I assume most of those are, a lot of those have to be firm owners. So you also have this guard that's changing, and people that, have built beautiful businesses. We joke about hosted technology. Like, I don't care what you say. Like, the guy we bought this business from built a beautiful business, like that serves people well and does stuff and does it with the technology. I mean, the hosted technology, while we don't like it because we just haven't dug into it, like, man, it works for people and it helps out, and it was the right thing to do at the time for folks. So you have all of these wonderful firm owners out there that have built these beautiful businesses and really protected their clients and helped their clients. That alone, just that group of people is going to be, you like the construction.
Yeah. I'm hearing either somebody being tortured or yeah.
What you're hearing is kitchen progress.
Yeah, there you go.
But I think, that is something that people underestimate, I think, right now, is the number of firm owners that are 55 plus that are ready to pass it on, Wow.
Yeah, lots of that. No.
Well, here's the great success for you, all of us, and into next year, 2021, and happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you for being on, Michael.
Thank you.
All, and we'll catch everyone next time. Subscribe, like, and get ready for the podcast soon.
Share.
Go to Merge with Acuity on the thing.
Go do both. Go to both.
Date both of us. Date both of us.
Go to both
see
sides.
how much better Acuity is.
Give us notes about how the experience was.
It's awesome.